So my talk title today is An Epic Journey, because that's what I'm on. I had a great first Sunday title. I was all set to say 2020, a year of great vision. It's gone. Because it's 4 weeks ago today. It's interesting, I'll always remember this thing started on a Sunday. It's been 4 weeks from today that we stepped onto this epic journey of ours to discover things that we didn't know before. You know, Ernest Holmes was so clear about the use of the science of mind, that the intention of the science of mind is for us to be able to live the lives we desire. And I believe that's absolutely true. But it's not about controlling every single element of our life as much as it is remembering who we are as we move through the elements of our lives. It's not about always getting things to turn out just the way we intended. It's often about us learning in a much deeper way who we are from the experiences of our lives. So that's been kind of the journey. Barbara is in the traditional archetypes, the Jungian archetypes. Barbara is a classic magician. She works with information. She teaches truth principles, and she's so clear about that, and her presentation is so spot on about how to use these teachings. And so she's definitely a magician. I think I mentioned that when I spoke of the gifts of the Magi back in December. She's actually developing her lover in a way that's extraordinary to me. And one little tiny example of that is we were sitting in her hospital room at Wake Forest University Hospital. And I said, and I'd been going, as she got this thing on Olive Garden soup, and I was bringing her soup almost every day for lunch, and she was enjoying that. And I said to her one day, I think maybe even the day we were leaving there, I wonder if Care Partners, the facility she's now residing in temporarily, will let me bring in food. And her response to that was, they'll let you bring in love. I know, it just stopped me cold. It was beautiful. So Barbara's developing her lover. I, on the other hand, am developing my warrior, which is important right now. Yeah. And where I first realized that was when people kept saying to me, John, remember to take care of yourself. And everyone and I don't remember, and some of you said that to me, I don't remember who, but I remember the feeling of that going, what does that mean? Why, I can't even, relate to that right now, because the only thing that is important to me right now is to support Barbara in her healing. And I know that those thoughts are great, but if I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to get Barbara in the car and we're going to go to the beach, because that's how we've been doing it for years, So, and there's no time for that right now, and it's got to be okay. That's not important. What's important is this progress that we're making every day. And so the warrior's kind of work in me. At the same time, it's not the embattled warrior. It's not going to war with people and things. It's about having a sacred cause, having a purpose that I am so committed to that I know that that's what I need to be doing. And I am. And frankly, I want you to know I'm sleeping well. I'm getting 8 hours sleep every night. And while Barbara is working, she's having, on average, 5 therapy sessions a day. And they are working her hard. And Ellen Vale is with her right now, with her sister Margaret, and Barbara's sister Margaret. And Kate Wagner has been there for all of her physical therapy sessions. And they are being incredibly supportive as these therapists are just working her. And it's really good that they're doing that. That's what she's focused on. What I'm focused on is being there with her as much as I can and learning how to do her job. Somebody's got to do it. So that's the thing about the accounting. Barbara has taken that, and I just to be completely frank about that, I knew years ago when Barbara started handling the bookkeeping for the center, that was not supposed to be hers to do. But she's so bright and brilliant and capable that she took it on anyway, because we really didn't have anybody else at the time to pass that on to. It's a big job. It's not an all-encompassing job, but you have to know what you're doing to do it right. So she took it on. And, I'm standing up here saying, can anyone help me with the accounting software? She didn't have anybody to help her. She just got the thing and learned it. And that's her magician. And that's just her way. I, on the other hand, need someone to hold my hand. So I will find that. That's not going to be a problem. But at the same time, it's interesting to see how roles are shifting in all of this. And the thing that's coming out of all that absolutely is deep learning. And yes, learning on the surface, learning skills, learning what needs to get done, and making sure everything gets handled. Yes, all of that. But that's not really what it's about. This is an epic journey I'm on. Our lives have changed forever. They just have. Now, am I suggesting with that Barbara's not going to have a full recovery? Not at all. But at this moment, I'm looking at this whole scenario of what's happening, and I would never have imagined that anyone would define Barbara Waterhouse by her physicality. It's always been by her spiritual nature that people would see her. And right now, most of the world sees her as something in her body less than it was before. And, she's working with all these therapists and nurses and doctors and CNAs and all these people that are supporting her. They really don't know who she is. And so it's been my job to help them understand that. And it's kind of working. And because of that, I'm learning about me through this. And what I hope to be doing here is helping you learn about you. This whole journey seems to be about us. And thank you for indulging that pretty much since this happened. This is my third time to speak with you since this happened. And thank you, Sally Robbins, for being here last week. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Another thing that's happening is that some of my colleagues are calling me from great distances away and saying, John, I'm willing to come to Asheville and speak for you. I can come and stay a couple of weeks and do that. And, they're talking great distances. And these are some of the heavy hitters in our movement that have said they're willing to do that. And with one exception, I've declined their offers, frankly, because I need to be here. Because being here with you right now is helping me organize my thinking and my feeling to really know what's happening for me. Because it would be really easy just to become entirely focused on Barbara and not be thinking about what I'm learning. But I am learning. I'm learning important things in my life. And the opportunity to come and share some of that with you, I hope has value in your life, but I want you to know it has value in mine. I need you right now. I need your love. I need your support. I need you to believe in this community and support this community. And I need you to get something out of me being here. So thank you for being here. I'm really delighted. So what the heck am I learning? I've got 3 thoughts that I want to share with you. And the first one is that I'm learning to be patient. It's amazing. The allopathic model of healthcare is amazing. The things that they can do. And it's all run by people. And people do things that I don't always agree with. But what I'm learning is not to get upset or angry or go to battle with anyone that's supporting Barbara. What I'm learning is that if I ask for something for Barbara and it doesn't happen, I ask again. Not with attitude, with just a clarity. I mean, it could be something as simple as yesterday morning, Barbara asked for a cup of coffee. She hadn't been drinking coffee. I said, great, I'll go get you a cup of coffee. The Warrior's out, And I marched down the hall, and there's 3 CNAs standing talking, and I said, who can get me a cup of coffee? And one of them goes, I'll go get it for you. I said, that's great. And I went back to the room, and I said, they're bringing you coffee. 10 minutes later, no coffee. So I walk back out into the hall, and I find somebody completely different. And I say, do you think you could help me get a cup of coffee? And he said, absolutely. And we went to a place, and he went back in the back, and he brought out a cup of coffee. And I took it there, and Barbara had some coffee. Simple little thing, right? An hour later, the CNA that promised the coffee walked in and saw Barbara and went, oh, crap, I forgot the coffee. And I said, don't worry about it. It's handled. It was so easy. And what I'm discovering with this patience is that I'm creating lots of allies and lots of angels in my life. I don't have any time for enemies right now. I don't have time to be stepping on toes and hurting feelings and having people upset with me because they would unconsciously take it out on Barbara and keep their distance. So it's working. I'm patient, and Barbara's getting what she needs. It's working. So I invite you in your life to look at this. Maybe you don't have this thing hanging over you right now, but this idea of patience has great value. To just focus on what you want. And you don't have to be the person that's demanding it. Simply know what you want and do what it takes to get it. And you'll have what you need. It's quite amazing how that works. And it's working for us. Barbara had a situation on Friday where she was in therapy, and her vital signs started dropping. Her blood pressure dropped pretty severely, and she became listless and not unresponsive. She didn't pass out, but she was definitely in some level of stress. So the doctors decided the best thing to do was to put her in an ambulance transport and send her back to Mission ER. And I got a call about this as it was happening. I didn't have much patience in that moment, because I was just driving back to the center with some of the food that y'all are going to enjoy today. And I dropped it off. I opened the door, and I yelled at Rick, empty the truck! And I raced off to get Barbara's car and to the hospital. And I broke the speed limit pretty severely getting there. But I got there. And she was sitting there. As soon as she saw me, she smiled, and I just relaxed into that. And I stayed with her, and the ambulance people came, the techs came and put her on the stretcher and carried her out and carried her over there. And I went there as well, but I can't go in the place the ambulance does. I had to go around to the other side of the hospital, the ER, to come in that way, and that's what I did. Now, I have the benefit of a hall pass at Mission. It's called being they call it a pastor. And so I've got this little name tag that I can wear, and I can get it pretty much anywhere I need to in that hospital without anybody questioning me. And so I just walked right. I did stop at the desk and said, do you have Barbara Waterhouse registered? They said, no. I said, thank you. And I went back there. And so I'm wandering around. If you haven't been, and I know most of you haven't, to the new ER at Mission Hospital, it's massive. And it just goes on, and there's rows and just hallways everywhere. And so I'm just kind of wandering around looking for Barbara. When I passed a particular physician the second time, he said, are you lost? And I said, no, I'm looking for my wife. She has just come in on an ambulance. And he said, well, you'll never find her this way. And I said, thank you so much. And honestly took less than 10 steps as Barbara and her 2 attendants came and turned on a corner as I'm walking into that intersection. And suddenly I'm standing next to Barbara. And I reached out and touched her, and she looked up at me. I said, I found you. So the experience was a bit of a non-event. What we pretty much figured out is that she'd been doing so many therapy sessions, and she didn't have her advocate, me, there to do this. She hadn't had much water all day. And that didn't work. So we've remedied that. Her numbers are all good again. Her speech is better than it was. She's a little chatterbox now. And it's just wonderful that we got through that with yes, I absolutely became a drama queen. I will admit to that. But I got over it really quick, and we moved on. And I'm continuing to work on patience. It's working. Another thing that I learned was to be gentle. Yes, I'm working on my warrior, but it's not a warrior that's going to clobber anybody. It's being gentle, and first and foremost to myself. I have to be gentle through this. I have to give myself the space to be okay no matter what it looks like, no matter what's going on. And in doing that, I'm finding my way with it. And this gentleness is kind of new to me. Not that I'm some kind of a brute, I'm not, but at the same time, being gentle to myself and to those around me is bringing great value to this process for me. So let me see. I'm sure I had some other thoughts about that I wanted to say. Yes, the thing is that for years I've been teaching you and reminding myself that all of us are doing our very best at any one moment. We're doing our best. And now I'm proving it. Because even when it isn't exactly what I might like to have happen, everyone's doing their best in supporting Barbara, in being a part of this center, and in every other element of my life that I observe. People are doing their best. And that's helping me be gentle. That's helping me be patient. It's helping me remember that we're all on this path finding our way. None of us are wrong. None of us are bad. We are doing what is ours to do, and it's working. It's working. The third thing that I have been working on is this thing that virtually every therapist and every doctor and probably most of the nurses have said to Barbara. She said, if you can't find the word, take a breath and relax and let the word come. And I think that is brilliant. And Barbara's doing what she does with that. I'm not here to make Barbara do anything. But I realize that's something for me. So when Barbara hasn't got the word, rather than leaning into her and trying to pry it out of her, what it is she wants to say, I'm learning to take a breath and to back off a little bit and to let her word come to me. It's quite amazing how often that's happening, because otherwise I haven't a clue what that thing is she wants to say. I just don't know. And please, please tell me the word. Give me the word. It doesn't work that way. One particular instance happened a couple of nights ago where I'm sitting by the bed and she wants something and she wants to tell me what it is. And so we do the 20 questions thing. Is it something in your nightstand? No. Is it clothing? No. Is it something in the room? Yes. Okay. And she points to the closet. She's in a semi-private room, so there's another woman in a space next to her, and there's curtains and all, but which she points toward the closet. And the only thing that I know she's got in the closet are her hoodies to wear like a jacket and her shoes. Everything else of her clothing is in a suitcase. And she said it wasn't clothing anyway. So, closet. What is a closet? I just don't know, and I'm stuck. What do I do? And then she's hitting her thigh. She's actually with her left hand. She's hitting her thigh. What is that? What do you want for your thigh? I'm lost. I just haven't got it. And I start crying. So now she's comforting me. So I tried it. I took a breath. I closed my eyes. I took just a breath. Do you want a blanket? Yes! I didn't even know there were blankets in the closet. I have no idea how she knew that, because the only time she goes is when she's in the wheelchair going by that closet. How did she know that? It's almost like there's something mystical going on. I'll give you another one that just blew my mind. She got up out of bed when we were in Winston-Salem. She was tired of laying there. And she got up and she tore off this hospital gown. And she had no other clothes on. She just tore that thing off. And I said, "You need a nurse?" She said, "Yes." So I leave the room to go get a nurse, and I watched her do this. She took that gown and she threw it on the floor. Now, she wasn't able to stand at all at that point. That was not, and she's on, a hospital bed. It's pretty high. Her feet are not touching the ground. I went off and found a nurse, and they said they'd be right there, and I came back in. You can push the button, but that's not my way. I want to make physical connection and say, "Will you come now?" So I come back in the room, and the gown's on the bed. I have no idea, because I didn't leave that far enough away from that room for somebody else to come in and pick that thing up and put it back on the bed. Yeah, I don't know. So there's mystical things happening that I can't explain all the time. Little things, little powerful things that are learnings for me. And so I'm remembering to take a breath and let whatever's happening be okay. And I recommend that to every one of us in our lives, is rather than getting caught up in the drama, getting caught up in the unknown, getting caught up in something that seems not to be working, just take a breath. And I'm not saying breathe, I'm saying take a breath and use that breath to clear your mind and let it come forward, the thing you need to know. So Barbara's there healing her body and her brain. There is nothing wrong with that woman's mind. Her mind is as clear. It's just those pathways that get her to say the words she wants to say, or the use of her right arm or her right leg that she's working on. And she's creating those pathways every day. She's doing her work. And it's our job to do our work. And I'm not talking about for her, I'm talking about for ourselves. Because this journey of life gives us opportunities to learn about who we are and how to do this even better. And I want you to know Barbara hasn't stopped teaching us. So what I want to do is share a couple of things that have happened beyond that are so important. We teach this thing called spiritual mind treatment, this powerful tool for creating the change in conditions. We have these people called practitioners and ministers who are trained to do this prayer work, this affirmative prayer work, in support of others when they ask for it. When they ask for it. And that's been an ethic that I've followed all along with this. There are people in this movement that'll treat for anything anybody asks. They'll treat for anybody's relatives or friends or without knowing if that person really wants it. And the reason that I don't do that is that people have not only the right, well, they have the right to experience life the way they want to experience it. Or maybe it's not even a wanting. But I have seen people that are ready to leave this life. And they've got relatives or friends that don't want to let go. And those people will come to me and say, please pray or treat that this one that is so important to me is better, is getting what they need, is going to live in many cases. And I teach all of my practitioner students that doesn't work. You can't get in their way. And I've seen that happen. I remember many, many years ago when AIDS was first an issue in our culture. And there was an AIDS hospital in Houston where I lived at the time. And I was invited to come in and to be with some people. And I met a guy who had no reason to be alive, except that his mother was there and she wouldn't let him go. So I've held that ethic. You don't treat for someone unless they ask you. Well, boy, did I break that rule. Because I had all of our practitioners up in the middle of the night when they took Barbara in for that surgery that they said was so risky to open up her carotid artery to attempt to do that. I had them all treating, and not only that, but for the 2 hours she was in surgery, I called every minister I had a number for that I could think of and asked them to treat for Barbara to get through this surgery. And since then, I've had this thing going on to me like, what happened to your ethics around this? What if Barbara wanted to go? What are you doing? And it was tough because I didn't want her to go. And I want to share with you that this does not change my way of seeing this ethical dilemma. I still have that to work on. But on Thursday, Barbara was in one of her occupational therapy sessions. She's got a great guy named Michael that she's working with. And at some point she said to Michael, I could have died. And Michael, in his brilliance, looked at her and said, well, why didn't you? And she was looking at Michael, and she turned and looked at me. And she said, because I don't want to leave him. So apparently this was a good thing. And Barbara is in charge of her life. Even with all the lifting up that we do, she's still in charge of her life. And she's still teaching me every day. And my guess is she's teaching many of you. So one thing that I've been doing since she got to mission, which was 4 weeks ago today, these people would come in and they would see this person who couldn't move part of her body and couldn't speak clearly. And I'm going, they don't know who she is. And so I would very quickly, on my phone, and I've got a pretty large screen phone, I would pull up our website and go to Facebook or go to YouTube and get one of her videos and put it in their face. Look at this. And they would, for the most part. They would stop and they would look for a minute. And it was important for me that they have some sense of who she was. And I did that to lots and lots of people. Some of them didn't get it at all, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. They didn't need to. I needed to show them who she was. So one day, while she was out of intensive care, but in a hospital room at Wake Forest, I did that with the attending physician, a young woman, very attractive woman, who's a neuroscience physician. And I did what I had been doing with everybody. I held it up and say, look at this. And she started looking. And I came around and looked too. And you couldn't see Barbara's head because there was a banner on the screen. So I am so techie. So I click the X that's next to it and the whole thing goes away. And I'm going, damn, because I really wanted you to see that. She pulled out her phone out of her lab coat and said, what's the address? And I told her. And faster than I could have ever done it, she had it up. And she went back to the same video and watched it for a couple more minutes, and she started to cry. Physicians don't cry. And she looked up at me and she said, I've been so busy being a doctor that I forgot my spiritual nature. She actually leaned down into Barbara with her phone, and the two of them watched the entire 25-minute video. Yeah. And then she started telling the nurses who Barbara was. It was quite amazing, to the point where, in all the rooms now they have a whiteboard with all kind of information, and there's a little note place there, and they had me put the website on there so that they could all go and look at it. And a number of them did. In fact, there was a nurse at Mission that came in, had worked with Barbara. No, I'm not. She was in the ICU. A nurse there in ICU came in 2 days after she had been Barbara's nurse and said, I looked at the website. It's wonderful. So Barbara continues to do her teaching, not only through her healthcare supporters, but in the world. I'm getting emails from colleagues around the country that are reminding me of things that she has said in some of her talks. So there's people everywhere that are watching her. Her ministry is very much alive. She's very much accomplishing what she came to accomplish. Even though she isn't physically able to do that kind of work right now, she's still doing it. And I find that incredible. I got an email this week. It came from one of our practitioners. This is what she writes. One of my learnings during this time with Barbara's diagnosis, surgery, and recovery is how much I value spiritual mind treatment for me. I am so grateful to be able to take an action in someone's healing, and how special it is to take an action for Barbara, who I love and respect so deeply in my heart. Today, the message of her progress makes this the best day ever. So much love, Michelle Laub. Thank you, Michelle. I don't know where you are, but thank you. So our beautiful Barbara continues to do her work. And what that says to me is that we must continue to do our work, wherever we are, to remember who we are, to live that spiritual life we've come to live. We're living it anyway, but the task is to remember who we are in the midst of it, so that we continue to grow and prosper in our lives, no matter what happens, no matter how life unfolds, so that we can be the people that we have come to be. We are not simply human beings. We have bodies, and it's wonderful to have a body on planet Earth, but that's not who we are. We are something much greater than that. I don't even believe we're in our bodies. I believe that we communicate, and I'll talk about that another time, through some mystical thing that where we get to use these bodies to experience this physical world. And it's our job to learn, no matter what happens, who we are, to remember who we are, to allow that to grow within us so that we can live our lives clearly and openly as the spiritual giants that we are. So Barbara's healing. She's doing exactly what she needs to do. And I would suggest that we must do that for ourselves as well, in honor of her and in honor of ourselves, for this great thing we have called lives. So let me share a picture of Barbara with you. This is her standing with her physical therapists. There she is. It came to me, some words from our wedding promises to each other, which we wrote for each other over 30 years ago. In those promises, we said this to one another. And most of all, we wish for you that at the end of your days on this earth, you can look into each other's eyes and are able to say, because you have loved me, you have given me faith in myself. And because I have faith in myself, all of my dreams have come true. My journey with you has made my life complete. We are as close to that as we have ever been, and will continue to be in that place of knowing that we provide that to one another. Thank you for what you bring to the mix, for all the good, for all the love, for all the support, financially, spiritually, and otherwise. Thank you for keeping this alive. It's wonderful, and I love you so much. God bless you all.
Hi, I'm Barbara Waterhouse.
And I'm John Waterhouse. Thank you for watching this message today.
Through our website, cslasheville.org, we have over 1,000 messages, classes, and New Thought books, all to download at no charge to anyone.
Producing this incredibly valuable collection of ideas is really making a difference in the world. It's changing lives everywhere.
Please go to our website, cslasheville.org, and click the Donate button. You can support this life-changing ministry, and when you do, we'll send you a note of thanks and also put you on our daily prayers.
By doing this, you're helping to raise the consciousness of people across the entire globe. We're changing lives together, those lives that are being more prosperous, more healthy, and more joyous. Thank you for being a part of this important work and supporting what we do here at CSL Asheville.
Thank you.